I need everyone who told me to listen to the Calamity Club on audio to know something. You were right. I did not want to read this book. Not because I thought it sounded bad, exactly. I just had a couple of concerns. First, this is the kind of big general fiction book that Book Talk and Bookstagram tend to lose their minds over. And historically, when everyone online tells me a general fiction book is going to change my life, I always read it and I'm like, I am primarily a thriller and a romance reader. I like murder, obsession, kissing, betrayal, preferably several of those things happening at the same time. So when a giant historical fiction novel starts getting hyped everywhere, I immediately get suspicious and I'm like, I probably won't like it. And my second concern was the size. This book is ginormous. And then I looked at the audiobook length, 28 hours. I posted about this on my Instagram and my comments were basically one long intervention. Everyone kept telling me the same thing. You have to read it and you need to listen to it on audio. So I gave in and I understand now. I gave the Calamity Club 5 stars. I loved this book so much more than I expected to, and I am still thinking about it. This is one of my biggest signs that a book deserves 5 stars. If I'm thinking about it when I'm not reading it and I'm still thinking about it after I finish, it's done the job. And this one absolutely did. The Calamity Club is by Kathryn Stockett, who also wrote The Help. It's set in Oxford, Mississippi during the 1930s, right in the middle of the Depression. We have Meg Lefleur, an 11-year-old girl living in an orphan asylum after being abandoned by her mother. Our other point of view is from Birdie Calhoun, who comes to Oxford hoping her wealthy sister can help the family that Birdie has left behind. And we eventually meet Charlie, who is another woman running low on options with very little left to lose. And at first, we don't know how any of these people are connected. So we start the book with a glimpse of Birdie in the future, but we don't know what happened to get her there. And then we hear from Meg, and Charlie enters the story later. So you're trying to figure out how she belongs in all of this too. And that mystery of how the characters were going to come together was one of the things that hooked me. The moment Birdie and Charlie finally crossed paths and I started to understand how all of these separate pieces might connect, I was done. And I needed to know everything. I wanted to know how Meg fit into it and how Birdie's story would unfold, how Charlie would help change things, and how this giant group of new, hilarious but troubled women would eventually become involved in the same plan. And that is also when the book started to feel much faster than I expected, because yes, it is long. There is no pretending that it is not that. But it did not feel long. It did not feel slow at all. And I normally struggle with that in both historical fiction and general fiction. And that is absolutely not what happened here. This felt like a total page turner. Even though I listened to it, it was still a page turner. You get what I'm saying here? I kept wanting to go back to it. I was looking for excuses to keep listening because what I needed to know was what these women were going to do next. And the audio narration is a huge reason that the experience works so well. The audiobook is narrated by Jenna LaMaya and January Lavoie. Jenna LaMaya voices Meg, and January Lavoie voices Birdie and the rest of the supporting cast. They both did an excellent job, and January Lavoie was incredible. She gives the characters such distinct personalities and voices that you never feel lost, even though there are a lot of people in this book. And Flossie on audio, Flossie might be my favorite character, entirely because of the way January Lavoie performs her. She's rough around the edges, she is blunt, and she is not trying to be polished or proper, and every time she opened her mouth, I was cracking up. The way she is even voiced, like it just makes her even funnier. After you listen to this, you will start speaking in a Southern accent, pulling a Mrs. Tate saying, "I declare." That is how much the narration got into my head. The characters are the biggest strength of this book. It's difficult to choose a favorite because most of them are so memorable. There are characters you will love, and there are characters you will hate. There are 2 in particular that you will not like, and there is one specific woman that you may actively wish a tortured death upon, and it would not be tragic at all. And I will not say who this is because this is spoiler free, but you will know. The second she appears, you will know. But the rest of the women are so easy to root for. Birdie and Charlie are complete badasses. They are operating in 1930s Mississippi, where the laws and social rules are ridiculous, especially for women. And when they begin pushing back against those rules, you are completely on their side. You do not care whether what they're doing is technically allowed. You are thinking, actually, break more laws. And then there's Mrs. Tart. You're probably going to meet this wealthy, fancy woman and immediately decide that you're not going to like her. She feels like the kind of character who should be annoying, but by the end, that's your girl. And you will be defending Mrs. Tart. And we need to discuss the hookers. I mean, they are my favorite part. I love these women more than I loved Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman. Once all of these women are living together and constantly interacting, the book becomes so funny. They are messy. They are honest. They say things women were absolutely not supposed to say in 1930s Mississippi. And because they all have such different personalities, every conversation between them feels so unpredictable. I laughed out loud multiple times, which surprised me because this story is also dealing with poverty, abandonment, exploitation, sexism, corruption, violence, and the reality of life during the Depression. And that is a difficult balance to pull off, but the humor never makes the serious parts feel unimportant, and the serious parts never completely smother the humor. It is funny while still having something meaningful to say. And that is also where I see the biggest similarity to The Help, because both stories are very deep and very serious, but they are also incredibly entertaining. They deal with unfair systems and uncomfortable realities, but they do it through characters who are funny, complicated, and very memorable. The interactions between the characters give you moments of relief, even when the larger situation is infuriating. And there are some situations that will really piss you off. Like, you will get angry with some of the parts in the Calamity Club. The treatment of women in this book is enraging. One example is the way female sex workers are punished compared to the men who pay them. So a woman and a man can be caught doing the exact same thing, but the man walks away as though he's done nothing wrong. He's completely innocent in the situation, and the woman is punished to the full extent of the law. Same situation, same act, but completely different consequences. And even though this book is set in the 1930s, it doesn't feel disconnected from the present. There are so many parallels to the way men and women are judged differently today. Unfortunately, men and women can make the same choice, behave the same way, or participate in the exact same situation, and somehow the woman is still the one who is shamed, blamed, or punished more severely. Another thing that made me angry was watching women fight against their own rights. And you see women actively supporting rules and systems that hurt them. But again, we still see that happening today in real life. Women opposing things that would directly protect or benefit them is clearly not a new phenomenon. And again, that's part of what makes a lot of things in this book infuriating. Kathryn Stockett does such an excellent job showing how these systems continue because people are taught to defend them, even when they are the same people who are being harmed. The themes are there and they're clear, but again, you are still being entertained. You're still following this wild plan that these ladies concoct to get out of the situations they are in. And you're still laughing at Flossie, rooting for Birdie and Charlie, and waiting to see how Meg's story connects to everyone else in the end. Kathryn Stockett paints such a clear picture of Depression-era Mississippi that I could visualize everything: the houses, the streets, the clothing, the social expectations, and the divide between wealthy people and struggling families. And then once I learned that she's from Jackson, Mississippi, everything just made more sense. And this is coming from somebody who is not drawn to historical fiction. I do not usually see a book set in the 1930s and start sprinting towards it. But this author did it so well that I was completely invested. I also can't give you a list of things I disliked because everything worked for me. I mean, if anything, I would like to see where the characters really end up in the end and not like assume. The length didn't bother me once I got into it. It just didn't feel long. The number of characters didn't feel confusing because, again, the narration helped make each one distinct. And it was just one of those rare reading experiences where I finished and I thought, no notes. Maybe a sequel, but no notes. So who should read The Calamity Club? Literally anyone. I am a thriller and a romance lover, and I loved it. So you do not need to be a dedicated historical fiction reader. You don't need to be somebody who normally reads giant literary books. You just need to enjoy strong characters, complicated women, found family, humor, social commentary, and stories where underestimated people decide that they have had enough. But I'm going to repeat the advice that everyone gave to me. Listen to the audiobook. This is absolutely the kind of book that becomes even better when you hear how the characters are performed. The accents, the timing, the different voices, and especially January LaVoy's performance add so much personality. Yes, 28 hours sounds intimidating. I know. I listened to it at 1.4 speed and blew through it. Trust me, I had the same reaction. Trust. It works. Once these characters start coming together, you will stop thinking about the length entirely. I wanted it to be longer at the end. So yes, The Calamity Club, it gets 5 stars from me. Please read it, or better yet, listen to it, because I need more people to talk about Flossie, Birdie, Charlie, and Mrs. Tart, and the entire group of chaotic women too. And when you finish, come back and tell me which character was your favorite, and why was it Flossie, or Birdie, or Charlie, or Mrs. Tart.